Most people think surviving a disaster comes down to how much food they stockpile. But the real reason people break down has nothing to do with running out of calories. I tested this myself. I ate strictly from my own emergency storage for several days. The first 2 days were manageable. I had food, I ate enough, I felt prepared. But by day 3, something quietly started to go wrong. Not dramatic, not a sudden crisis, just a slow drift. My meals became uncomfortable. I started eating less without choosing to. My focus slipped, my mood dropped. I was not starving, I was unraveling, and I did not see it coming. That experience changed how I think about preparation entirely. It taught me that you do not break down because your food supply runs out first. You break down because the small, overlooked pieces disappear one by one. And once they are gone, everything else starts falling apart faster than you planned. There are 12 items on this list. Some are obvious, some cost almost nothing, but every single one fills a specific gap that most people never think about until they are already feeling it. And there is one item, number 7, that costs roughly $1. If it is missing, you will burn through your supply faster than you expected without ever understanding why. So let us go through all 12, starting from the bottom. Number 12, chia seeds, the thing that stops hunger from hijacking your plan. Here's something most people misunderstand about survival preparation. The real threat is rarely running out of food. The real threat is losing control over how fast you eat it. You may have enough supplies for 2 weeks, but if hunger spikes hit you every 2 hours, you will make impulsive decisions. You will eat more than you planned, and your 2-week supply quietly becomes a 10-day supply, then an 8-day supply. Not because of an emergency, because of biology. Chia seeds address that specific problem. They do not create immediate fullness, but once they absorb water, they form a slow digesting gel in your stomach that stretches satiety across a longer window. Hunger returns more gradually. You make calmer, more controlled decisions about when and how much to eat. The nutritional profile adds to this. Chia seeds carry soluble fiber, omega-3 fatty acids, plant-based protein, and minerals including calcium and magnesium. The fiber content in particular helps stabilize blood sugar swings, which is one of the main drivers of sudden hunger spikes. When blood sugar stays steady, your appetite stays quieter. What does that mean in practice? It means your food plan actually holds. You do not blow through your stored meals ahead of schedule. The preparation is simple. Always soak chia seeds in water before eating. Mix them into water, stir them into porridge, or combine them with powdered milk. Never eat them dry. Dry chia seeds absorb liquid from your digestive system instead, which causes significant discomfort. Storage is one of their strongest features. Sealed in an airtight container, kept away from direct light and moisture, chia seeds hold quality for 2 to 5 years. That makes them one of the most shelf-stable items on this entire list. They are not a meal, they are a control mechanism. And without control over your hunger rhythm, even a well-stocked pantry will disappear faster than you expected. Have you ever felt constantly hungry even when you had been eating regularly? That might not be a calorie problem, it might be a blood sugar problem, and chia seeds are one of the cheapest ways to fix it. Number 11, powdered milk, the thing that keeps meals from feeling like punishment. You will not collapse without milk, but you will notice something shifting within a few days of going without it, and that shift matters more than most people realize. When your meals become dry and repetitive, plain rice, canned beans, crackers, your body continues to function. You are eating, you are getting calories, but something feels wrong. There is no comfort, no familiarity. The rhythm of your normal daily life is broken, and you feel it every single meal. That feeling accumulates. It wears on you mentally, even when you are not consciously aware of it. And that mental fatigue starts affecting how much you eat, how you interact with people around you, and how well you think and make decisions. Powdered milk interrupts that drift. A warm cup of milk in the morning, even made from powder, triggers familiarity. It signals normalcy. Your nervous system responds to that signal, and you feel more settled, even in an unstable situation. Beyond the psychological effect, powdered milk delivers practical nutrition. It provides protein, calcium, fat, and key vitamins that become hard to source when you are relying primarily on shelf-stable carbohydrates. It makes meals easier to digest. It's especially useful for older adults, children, or anyone whose appetite shrinks when they are under stress. The storage mistake most people make with powdered milk is leaving it open. Once exposed to air and moisture, quality declines quickly. The correct approach is to seal it tightly after every use, store it in an airtight container, and use a moisture absorber if you are in a humid environment. Unopened, powdered milk lasts 1 to 2 years, sometimes longer with proper. Once opened, aim to use it within several weeks to a few months, depending on how dry your storage environment is. Fresh milk disappears the moment power goes out. If you do not have a shelf-stable alternative, your meals become drier and nutritionally thinner almost immediately. You will still eat, but meals will start feeling less like sustenance and more like maintenance. And that distinction matters, because the way meals feel affects how consistently you eat them. Powdered milk is not what keeps you alive. It is what keeps meals feeling human, and that is what helps you hold your routine when everything around you is shifting. Number 10. Seasoning cubes. The thing that keeps you from giving up on eating entirely. Here's something worth thinking about. People do not typically abandon their food supplies because they run out. They abandon them because they stop wanting to eat. Day 4 of eating the same unseasoned rice and beans, you will still eat, but something in you resists it. You start skipping meals. You eat quickly and joylessly just to get through it. You eat less each day without deciding to, and slowly, quietly, your body begins weakening, even though there is still plenty of food in storage. This is not a weakness. It is biology. Humans are hardwired to respond to flavor variety. When that variety disappears, appetite diminishes, and when appetite diminishes in a survival situation, it becomes a real danger. A single seasoning cube costs almost nothing, but it changes the flavor profile of a meal enough to re-engage your appetite. Not because the food becomes gourmet, but because your brain perceives variety, and that perception is enough to keep you eating consistently. One cube dropped into hot water or simmered with rice changes the experience entirely. The smell alone does something. It signals warmth, familiarity, and something worth eating. Seasoning cubes do not offer significant nutrition, but they preserve your eating rhythm, and in a sustained emergency, maintaining your eating rhythm is one of the most important things you can do. Storage is almost effortless. Keep them sealed, away from moisture and heat, and most varieties last 1 to 2 years or longer. Adding a small moisture absorber extends this even further. $1 to $3, that is the investment, and it may be what keeps you eating consistently when everything around you feels heavy. What is your plan when your food starts tasting like survival instead of sustenance? Number 9. Oats. The thing that makes mornings feel manageable. When a crisis stretches beyond a few days, mornings become the hardest part. You wake up, you're already tired, already stressed, and breakfast feels like a problem to solve rather than a meal to enjoy. Oats remove that friction. No complex preparation, no equipment required beyond hot water or a small flame. A bowl of warm oats in the morning does something important. It gives the day a starting point, a normal starting point. Beyond the psychological function, oats deliver real nutritional value. They are rich in complex carbohydrates that release energy slowly. They contain soluble fiber that moderates blood sugar. They provide meaningful amounts of protein relative to their cost and weight. And they pair with almost anything you have in storage. Powdered milk, honey, salt, dried fruit. They are affordable, widely available, and extremely shelf-stable. Rolled oats stored in sealed containers, kept dry, can hold quality for up to 2 years or more. They are lightweight relative to the calories they contain, making them efficient to store in volume. For families with children, oats are especially valuable. Children often struggle with unfamiliar or heavily altered meals during disruptions. A warm bowl of familiar oatmeal can significantly reduce food resistance and mealtime tension in a way that few other stored foods can. The biggest mistake people make is underestimating how much morning comfort matters during sustained stress. It is not luxury, it is maintenance of routine, and routine is what keeps people mentally stable across days and weeks, not just hours. Oats cost very little, they last a long time, they serve multiple meals, and they make mornings feel less like a crisis and more like a morning. Number 8. Honey. The thing that does more work than you realize. Honey is one of the most versatile items you can store, and most people either overlook it or underestimate it. From a pure survival standpoint, honey is remarkable. Real honey, stored correctly in a sealed jar, does not expire. Archaeologists have found edible honey in ancient tombs. If you keep it sealed and away from water, it will outlast nearly everything else in your storage. It provides fast-acting energy, which matters on days when you've been physically or mentally exhausted, and your body needs immediate fuel. A small spoon in warm water gives you a quick glucose boost without needing to prepare a full meal. It also has natural antimicrobial properties that can be useful when medical supplies are limited. Minor wounds, sore throats, digestive discomfort. Honey has documented uses across all of these, and in a situation where healthcare access is reduced, that versatility matters. As a flavor enhancer, it makes stored food significantly more palatable. Stir it into oatmeal, add it to tea made from dried herbs, mix it with warm water and powdered milk. They are affordable, widely available, and extremely shelf-stable. Rolled oats stored in sealed containers, kept dry, can hold quality for up to 2 years or more. They are lightweight relative to the calories they contain, making them efficient to store in volume. For families with children, honey is especially valuable. Children often struggle with unfamiliar or heavily altered meals during disruptions. A warm bowl of familiar oatmeal can significantly reduce food resistance and mealtime tension in a way that few other stored foods can. The biggest mistake people make is underestimating how much morning comfort matters during sustained stress. It is not luxury, it is maintenance of routine, and routine is what keeps people mentally stable across days and weeks, not just hours. Oats cost very little, they last a long time, they serve multiple meals, and they make mornings feel less like a crisis and more like a morning. It adds sweetness that breaks the monotony of savory survival meals. For children especially, honey serves a dual purpose. It provides energy and it makes unfamiliar meals more acceptable, reducing the daily mealtime struggle that parents in crisis situations often face. Store it in a glass or airtight container. Keep it away from direct sunlight and moisture. Never introduce water into the jar. These simple precautions preserve it almost indefinitely. 1 jar of honey does the work of multiple items. It fuels you, flavors your meals, soothes minor health issues, and comforts children. That is a lot of function for a small, inexpensive addition to your storage. Number 7. Salt, the $1 item that holds everything else together. Here it is, the item that costs almost nothing, takes up almost no space, and will quietly destroy your food plan if it is missing. Salt is not a flavoring. In a survival context, it is a physiological requirement. Your body loses sodium through sweat, stress, and physical exertion. When sodium drops, your muscles cramp, your thinking slows, your endurance drops, and you feel a deep, disorienting fatigue that no amount of food seems to fix. But here is what most people miss. Without salt, your stored food becomes nearly inedible. Try eating unseasoned rice and boiled beans for 3 days straight. Not unpleasant rice, genuinely flavorless, unseasoned food. Your appetite will collapse faster than your body does. Salt makes food edible, it makes meals sustainable, and it's the backbone of food preservation when other methods are not available. Salting vegetables, salting meat, using brine, these are ancient techniques that extend food life significantly without electricity or refrigeration. A small amount of salt changes the entire character of a meal. It activates flavor. It makes eating feel intentional rather than mechanical. And that distinction, intentional versus mechanical eating, has a real impact on how consistently and how much you eat over a sustained period. Storage is effortless. Sealed in an airtight container, kept dry, salt lasts indefinitely. It does not spoil. It does not degrade. It just sits there, patiently, waiting to do its job. $1, a bag of salt, and without it, everything else on this list becomes harder to eat, harder to enjoy, and harder to sustain. Have you checked whether salt is actually in your storage? Not assumed it is there. Actually checked? Number 6. Canned fish, the thing that keeps your protein supply from collapsing. Protein is one of the first nutritional gaps that opens in a typical emergency food supply. Most convenient stored foods lean heavily on carbohydrates: rice, noodles, oats, crackers. That combination sustains energy in the short term, but without sufficient protein, muscle mass begins declining, recovery from physical exertion slows, and immune function weakens over time.
Canned fish, sardines, tuna, salmon, mackerel is one of the most efficient protein sources you can store. It arrives already cooked, requires no preparation, and can be eaten directly from the can if necessary. The nutritional density is significant. Canned sardines in particular provide protein, omega-3 fatty acids, calcium from edible bones, and vitamin D, a combination that is genuinely difficult to replicate from plant-based emergency foods alone. Canned salmon carries similar benefits. The flavor is strong enough to make plain rice, noodles, or crackers feel like a full meal rather than a survival ration. That flavor contribution is not trivial. It is part of what keeps meals sustainable across days and weeks rather than hours and days. Storage life is excellent. Most canned fish maintains quality for 3 to 5 years when stored in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight. Avoid storing near heat sources, which accelerates quality loss. Rotate your stock. Use the oldest cans first and replace them. This keeps your supply fresh without waste. Canned fish is not glamorous, but it fills the protein gap efficiently, improves meal satisfaction considerably, and stores reliably for years. In terms of nutritional return per dollar spent, it is one of the strongest investments on this list. Number 5. Apple cider vinegar, the thing most people forget until they need it. This is one of the most underrated items in emergency preparation, and it is consistently left off lists that focus only on calories. Apple cider vinegar serves multiple functions in a survival context. As a flavor enhancer, it adds brightness and acidity to otherwise flat, heavy meals. A small amount added to beans, rice, or lentils dramatically improves palatability. That palatability improvement directly affects how consistently people eat during an extended situation. Beyond flavor, it supports digestion. When your diet shifts heavily toward dry, starchy stored foods, digestive discomfort is common. Bloating, sluggishness, irregular digestion, these become daily friction points. A small amount of apple cider vinegar before or during meals helps stimulate digestive enzymes and reduces this discomfort. It also functions as a basic cleaning agent and surface disinfectant when access to commercial products is limited. This is a meaningful secondary use that adds genuine value to a single storage item. Storage is simple and long-lasting. Apple cider vinegar is self-preserving.
Kept sealed in its original bottle or an airtight glass container, it maintains quality for years without any special conditions. It is inexpensive, it takes minimal storage space, and it delivers flavor, digestive support, and practical utility from one small bottle. The people who forget this item notice its absence the moment their meals start feeling heavy and hard to finish. It is the kind of item that feels optional until it is missing, and then feels essential. Number 4. Lentils, the quiet foundation that shows up when everything else gets complicated. Most people store obvious proteins, canned food, beans, dried meat. Lentils often get overlooked because they seem too basic. That is exactly why they belong on this list. Lentils are one of the most nutritionally complete plant foods available for long-term storage. They provide protein, complex carbohydrates, iron, folate, and potassium. The protein content is particularly valuable for sustained periods when animal proteins become harder to access. Unlike many dried legumes, lentils cook relatively quickly without soaking. In a situation where water and fuel are being conserved, that matters. Less cooking time means less fuel used, less water needed, and a faster path from raw ingredient to edible meal. They are extremely versatile. Cooked plain, they are filling and nutritious. Combined with salt, a seasoning cube, and canned fish, they become a genuinely satisfying meal. Simmered into a thick soup, they stretch across multiple servings without sacrificing density. Shelf life is outstanding. Dried lentils stored in sealed containers kept away from moisture and light maintain nutritional quality for 2 to 3 years, sometimes longer. They are inexpensive per serving. They store densely, they cook reliably, and they provide nutrition that many common emergency foods simply cannot offer on their own. If your storage is heavily weighted toward carbohydrates, lentils are how you start rebalancing that without overhauling your entire plan. A few bags, sealed and stored, cover a significant nutritional gap for a very low cost. What would your meals actually look like on day 10 if you ate through everything fast? Have you mapped that out? Number 3. Instant noodles, the thing that keeps the atmosphere in your home from breaking down. Instant noodles are not nutritionally impressive. They are high in sodium, low in micronutrients, and not something to rely on as a primary food source. But they are on this list for a reason that has nothing to do with nutrition.
After several days of eating the same rotation of rice, beans, lentils, and canned goods, a specific kind of pressure builds inside a household. You are eating, everyone is eating, but meals become silent, tense. People eat fast and leave the table. Small irritations become arguments. The energy changes in a way that is hard to describe but very easy to feel. It is not about hunger, it is about sameness, and that sameness, accumulated over days, erodes morale faster than most people anticipate. Instant noodles are a reset. One familiar smell, one slightly different meal, one moment that feels almost like a normal Tuesday evening, and the tension eases. Not because the situation changed, because something felt familiar. They are fast to prepare. They require minimal water. They can be portioned down if supplies are being stretched. They store easily, kept dry, sealed, and away from moisture. They last for months to a year or more. Think of them as a comfort food anchor for your specific household. For some families, this might be canned soup. For others, mac and cheese or a familiar rice dish. The specific item matters less than the function it serves. Breaking repetition, triggering familiarity, softening the emotional weight of an ongoing disruption. The mistake is treating emergency food planning as purely a calorie problem. Humans do not just need to eat to keep going. They need the feeling that things are still manageable. That feeling, maintained through small familiar comforts, is what keeps households functioning together rather than fracturing under shared stress. Do not underestimate it. Number 2, whole wheat, the backup plan that holds when everything else runs out. This is the least convenient item on this entire list. You cannot open it and eat it immediately. It requires preparation, time, and some basic tools to use effectively. For exactly that reason, most people skip it. That is a mistake they only understand later. Here is the pattern that plays out in most emergency scenarios. In the first days, people eat what is easiest: instant noodles, canned goods, packaged snacks. Those foods are fast, familiar, and require almost no preparation, so they disappear first. By day 5 or 6, the easy foods are already heavily depleted. By day 10, they may be gone entirely, and that is the moment when people realize they've been eating from the top of their supply without ever building a foundation. Whole wheat is the foundation. It is not for the first days, it is for when the first days are over. Stored correctly, sealed in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, kept dry and away from heat, whole wheat berries can last 15 to 25 years without significant nutritional loss. That storage window is unlike nearly anything else.
It can be cooked as a whole grain, similar to rice, for a dense and nutritious side dish. It can be ground into flour for baking if you have the tools and means to do so. It can be cracked and boiled for a thick porridge. The preparation options are limited by tools and creativity, not by the grain itself. This is not comfort food. It is not a meal you will look forward to. It is the thing that is still there when everything more convenient has run out, and having it means never reaching the point where you have no more options. The biggest mistake is having whole wheat in storage without ever learning how to use it. Purchase it, understand how to prepare it, and practice before you need to, because a food you do not know how to cook is not really part of your emergency plan. Number 1. Ghee, the silent engine that keeps your body from burning out. Some people have enough food to last a week, but they are the first in their household to feel exhausted, mentally foggy, and physically depleted. Not because they are eating less, because they are missing something that the body cannot function efficiently without. Ghee is clarified butter with the water and milk solids removed. What remains is almost entirely fat, and that fat behaves differently than most stored cooking oils. It does not require refrigeration. It does not go rancid quickly the way regular butter or vegetable oil does. Stored properly in a sealed container, kept away from water and heat, ghee can last 1 to 2 years at room temperature, and even longer in cool conditions. When power goes out and temperature control disappears, oils and fats are often the first things to spoil. You smell them before you trust them. You hesitate, you use less. And without adequate fat in your diet, something starts going wrong. The body requires fat to absorb fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Without fat intake, those vitamins become unavailable even if you are technically consuming them through other foods. The result is a slow, subtle deterioration. Not immediate, not dramatic, but consistent. A spoonful of ghee mixed into rice or stirred into porridge does not make you full, but after an hour, your body runs differently. The sluggishness lifts slightly, mental clarity improves, you feel less depleted, not restored, but no longer declining. In a sustained emergency, not declining is an achievement. It is what separates the people who remain functional and clear-headed from the people who become passive and disengaged. The mistake is treating fat as optional. Many emergency food plans are almost entirely carbohydrate-based. Rice, noodles, oats, crackers. Those foods provide energy in the short term, but without fat, the body's ability to sustain itself across weeks, not just days, degrades in ways that become increasingly difficult to reverse. Ghee is not expensive. It is widely available, it stores reliably, and it fills the dietary fat gap that most emergency plans leave completely unaddressed. Keep it sealed, keep it dry, never let water enter the container. One compromised jar is a significant loss in a situation where every resource matters. Ghee does not make you fuller. It keeps you from breaking down quietly, one day at a time, in ways you will not notice until the damage is already accumulating. Now, looking back across all 12 items, chia seeds, powdered milk, seasoning cubes, oats, honey, salt, canned fish, apple cider vinegar, lentils, instant noodles, whole wheat, and ghee, you can see what this list actually is. It is not a random collection of survival foods. It is a system. Each item holds a specific function. One addresses hunger control. One addresses nutritional balance. One addresses palatability. One addresses energy metabolism. One preserves the social fabric of a household under pressure. Remove any one piece and the system does not immediately collapse, but it starts to degrade. And degradation in a crisis rarely announces itself loudly. It shows up quietly in smaller appetites, lower morale, declining energy, and eroding patience. The person who survives a sustained emergency is rarely the one with the largest supply. It is the one who understood what their body and mind actually needed and prepared for that specifically. Not just calories, not just shelf life, the whole picture. Because when things start slipping away, what keeps you standing is not the volume of what you stored, it is the precision of what you chose. If this helped you see your own preparation differently, do something simple right now. Hit the like button and share this with someone who is building their own emergency plan. This is my channel, and every video here is built to give you exactly what you need to stay ready. No filler, just the information that matters. The next video covers something very specific. If a crisis reaches your area and you have young children in your household, there are 6 foods you need to stock before anything else. That list is different from this one, and the reasoning behind it will change how you shop.